Hi, I'm Philip with Rossmönster, and today we're going to go over the basic operations of your Rossmönster Adventure Truck. Let's hop in. The controls for raising and lowering the top are here. A few very important notes before operating this top. Check for obstructions, tree branches, etc. before raising the top. When you're lowering the top, do a thorough inspection of the interior. Make sure there's nothing on the countertop or the bed that may interfere with the top raising and lowering. Also, make certain all of your windows as well as the upper door are closed before raising and lowering the top. Additionally, we want to make sure we do our best to park on a level surface. Parking on an off-camber or extremely unlevel surface can cause undue stress on any one given corner. And lastly, we want to make sure we're only cycling the top up or down once at a time. Multiple cycles can cause the system to overheat. If you need to run it up or down multiple times, give it a good 10, maybe 15 minutes in between those cycles to allow the electric actuators to cool. So to operate the top, I'm simply going to select the down button to run it down, and I'll hold my finger on the down button until the indicator reaches 0, as this sticker says. To raise it up, I'm going to simply hold the up button until it reaches 16, as the sticker indicates. The Firefly touchscreen is how we're going to control lights, water pump, and refrigerator on the Baja. Simply touch the screen and it'll come alive, and we have about 4 different pages where we can navigate a few different screens with information. Starting up top on the left, there is the home screen. This is going to tell us our freshwater tank as well as our gray tank levels. It's also going to tell us our battery voltage, and we have a master light on and off switch here. As we come down to the next screen, it is going to give us our lighting controls. Here we can control each individual lighting area, including our outside lighting, and we can dim lights if we choose to as well. We can select the component by turning it off and on. Blue is indicating that the light is on. If I want to dim down a light, I'm simply going to hold the button and the light will start to dim. I can let off at any point where I like the dimming and leave it there. And as I turn the lights off and back on again, it stays at the same dim level. If I want to bring the lights back up, again, I'll simply hold my finger on the light. It'll dim completely down and then start to come back up. And again, you can let off wherever you see fit. Coming to our next screen here, this is where we're going to control our refrigerator as well as our water pump. Again, to simply turn them on, blue indicates they're on. The fridge is now on. The water pump, that should be turned on when you get to camp. We want to avoid driving with the water pump on, and if you leave the vehicle, you want to make sure you turn that water pump off as well. The last page is mostly going to be settings, but you may want to adjust the contrast of the screen. You may want to also select cleaning mode. This will give you a few seconds, about 10 seconds, to where you can wipe off the screen without giving any inputs. And that's essentially it on the Firefly touchscreen. Your battery monitor is how you're going to monitor the health of your batteries, as well as see some other important information such as how much energy you're either consuming or making. When using the Victron Connect battery monitor, we're simply going to use the plus or minus buttons to navigate through a few screens. As soon as we touch the button, the screen will light up. I'm going to start here at percentage, and I know it's percentage because in the top right hand corner I can see the percentage sign, and my system is indicating we have 100% battery life right now. I can scroll up or down. I'm going to go ahead and hit down using the minus button. And that's going to tell me how long we can do what we're doing based on the energy we're either consuming or making. You can know that by an H in the bottom right hand corner indicating hours. Because we have a great amount of solar gain right now, it's telling me we can do what we're doing right now infinitely, essentially. Scrolling to our next screen here, that's going to bring up voltage, indicated by the V in the top right hand corner. This is a 12 volt system, so we expect to see a healthy voltage in the 13 to 14s. If that voltage is indeed in the 12s, it's probably time to start charging. Scrolling to the next screen, this is telling us how much energy we're either consuming or making. This is a positive number right now, so in spite of my lights and refrigerator being on, we're still making about 2 amps from our solar gain. If this were a negative number, we would be using more energy than we are currently making. When you're driving the vehicle, or if the vehicle is plugged into shore power, this should be a substantial positive number in most situations. Scrolling to our next screen, this is telling us the exact same information, but in a slightly different metric. This is in watts. Watts can be very handy because this truck has a 3000 watt inverter. That is the maximum energy that we can invert at any one given time. So keeping an eye on the watts when we're using things like our cooktop or the microwave is going to be important. Scrolling to our last screen here, AH is indicated in the bottom right hand corner, and that is indicating amp hours, telling us how much of our battery bank we have consumed. Because this vehicle is at 100% charge on the batteries, it's telling me 0% right now. And scrolling one more time brings us back full circle to where we started at the battery percentage. The AquaHot hydronic heating system, it's what's going to provide you hot water and hot air in the truck if you desire. The control screen is located on this truck right here. We have a couple different ways that we can turn on the AquaHot. 9 times out of 10, we're going to be using the burner option on the left-hand side of the touch screen. The burner option is going to turn on a small little diesel burner underneath the vehicle. This diesel burner is tapping into the factory diesel fuel tank of the vehicle. When we select this button, the system will turn on, and in just about 10 to 12 minutes, we will have hot water, assuming there is water in the vehicle. The other way that we can turn on the AquaHot is using the electric heating element. It's very important to note the electric heating element is very, very high draw. In other words, it's going to draw down your batteries extremely quickly. That really should only be used when you're driving the vehicle or if the vehicle is plugged into shore power. On that note, AquaHot does not recommend running the diesel burner when you are driving. If you do need hot air or hot water while you're driving the vehicle, you'll want to select the electric heating element. Lastly, on the electric heating element, it's important to note there is a breaker that must be turned on in the breaker cabinet. That has to be engaged and in the on position for the electric heating element to be turned on. In about 10 minutes after I've turned this on, I'll have plenty of hot water to wash the dishes or take a shower. So if you'd like to add heat to the camper, once the burner is on, we're going to go to our thermostats and make a couple adjustments. On this particular truck, we do have heated floors as well as heated air. So I'm going to select the top thermostat on this truck, which is indicated by front, and that's our heated air. So I will select this. I need to turn the thermostat on. And additionally, I need to set my set temperature above the current ambient temperature. Just like your thermostat at home, we have to set it above the temperature it is currently in order for the system to come on. It's indicating it's 71 degrees in here, so I'm going to turn this up to 75 degrees, and we'll hear the system kick on and start circulating coolant to provide us hot air. If you'd like to turn on the heated floors, it's the same process. We're going to log on to that particular thermostat. I'm going to turn that on, and I'm going to turn the set temperature above the current temperature, which is indicated 66 degrees. Once I've done that, both systems indicate they are heating, and in a few moments I will have nice, comfortable hot air in the camper. Coming to the secondary screen on the AquaHot right here in the bottom right hand corner, we have a few more options we can toy with here. We can adjust our screen brightness. We can go from Celsius to Fahrenheit. If you'd like to turn the fan speed down slightly so it's a little bit quieter, there is a quiet mode you can select here as well. And that's essentially the nuts and bolts of the AquaHot system. One last very important note when it comes to the diesel burner. The diesel burner is tapping off of the factory fuel tank. The tap goes down to approximately 1/4 of a tank. In other words, if your truck is less than a quarter tank of fuel, your AquaHot will not function, and indeed it will actually get faults most likely. So it's important to have more than that. I'd shoot for at least half a tank of fuel when you're rolling into the camp. In the unlikely event that you do experience a fault, the process to clear that fault is pretty simple. If we had a fault on the system, it would appear in the system status in red letters and it would indicate fault. To clear that fault, I would simply select the fault. It will then bring up a screen indicating which fault that is. It's a good idea to pull out your cell phone, take a quick picture of that fault, just in case for documentation. Once we've done that, we can go ahead and clear the fault by holding down the OK button for about 5 seconds. Let's let the system sit dormant for about 60 seconds and restart the system. That should resolve any faults. You may have to do that 2 or 3 times, potentially. If it gets beyond 2 or 3 times, potentially 5 times, and the system still isn't resetting, go ahead and reach out to our service department and we'll walk you through it. This truck is equipped with an induction cooktop and is also going to include induction cookware. A few important notes about this. We can't actually turn on the cooktop without having a induction cook pot on top here. In other words, it will not come on and produce heat without the appropriate cookware. So for right now, for demonstration purposes, I can't actually turn this on, but our power button is here. We can select different temperature settings on here. We can also set a timer as well. Also important to note, the induction cooktop is glass. So if you are stowing things in the upper cabinets, when you get to camp, be very careful and mindful about what's in here, and be careful and mindful when you're working around the surface as well. Your isotherm refrigerator is a 12-volt refrigerator. It is turned on via the Firefly. There is also a dial inside the refrigerator. It goes from 0 to 7. 0 is going to be off. 7 is going to be the coldest setting. We recommend setting it to approximately 4 to 5. A few notes about your refrigerator. It does require circulation to properly cool, so be mindful of that when you're sticking product in here. Additionally, if you could put cold beverages or cold food items in here, it's going to have to work less than it would if you put warm items in there. So shower operations should be pretty simple. The first thing we need to do, of course, is turn on the water pump. If you want hot water, you're going to want to turn that aqua hot on and give it about 10 to 12 minutes to give you some nice hot water. It's very important to note we do want to make sure we use this shower curtain, not just the door. Also, you want to go ahead and probably turn on your max air fan or open a window or two. We'd like to get the moisture from the shower out of the camper as quickly and efficiently as possible. When we're ready to turn the water on, we can set our temperature down here on the dial, and on our nozzle, we've got an on and off here, which makes it very convenient, and you can select a few different spray patterns as well. One last note on the nozzle, it will drip water from the end of the hose. That's intentional to help prevent freezing damage on the nozzle. There's a few different toilets you might have in your vehicle. Most commonly is a cassette toilet and a composting toilet. We'll make sure to give you those instructions when you pick up your vehicle. For your sink, you'll want to have the water pump on, and if you're looking for hot water, you'll want to turn that aqua hot on and give it about 10 to 12 minutes so you can have hot water. Remove your cutting board, and with the water pump on, we can lift the faucet up, and your control nozzle is on the right hand side. Select your desired temperature, and that's it. You've got a lot of flexibility here. And there's also a strainer in your sink. We want to avoid any food particles going into the gray tank, so let's utilize that. And there's a stopper as well when you're ready to do dishes. The dinette table has a lot of flexibility. We can make multiple adjustments via these ratcheting knobs here to simply tighten or loosen, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Now, the unique thing about these is if I find myself in a position where I can't turn this knob any further, just like that, I will simply want to pull that knob out towards me, bring it back around to give myself more purchase, and release it, and then I can tighten or loosen as I see fit. To remove this all together, I like to do it in two pieces. I like to take this top part off first by loosening all the way, and then we can remove the bottom leg. Also, if we're trying to adjust the height, it's the same concept. We're simply going to loosen our knob here, and I got to a stopping point, so I'm going to pull that knob out towards me, bring it back around, release it. I can continue to loosen, and now I can either raise or lower it, or I'm going to go ahead and remove it altogether. Your dinette conveniently converts into an additional sleeping space. To do so, we're going to remove the table from its mount. Once that's been removed, I'm going to take that table leg, put it up out of the way. Additionally, I'm going to take the table arm off, get that out of the way, and now we have our table. We'll invert it this way. I'm going to set it right here in this middle space. Once I'm out of the way, I'm going to get my cushions to my left and my right, fill in the space, and I've got a great sleeping space. Your max air fan can be operated via the handy remote or the controls on the fan itself. I'm going to use the remote. We do need to point this at the fan as it is directional. To turn it on, I'm simply going to hit the button and we'll wait for it to open. That's the normal sound of it opening. We can adjust our fan speed here by selecting the little fan indicators. We can also adjust the flow, in other words, air going in or going out. When you're cooking or taking a shower, it's a great idea to crack a window and get that air going either in or out and get some of the moisture out of here. A few important notes about 12-volt air conditioning. At best, we're typically going to experience approximately a 20-degree variance between the ambient temperature and the temperature in the camper. In other words, if it's 90 degrees outside, we're going to be doing our best to get it to approximately 70 degrees. That means if you're in very extreme conditions, you'll need to take a few precautions in order to get a nice, cool, comfortable temperature. Some of the obvious and easy things to do are parking in the shade whenever possible, or utilizing your window shades to help prevent solar gain. In very extreme temperatures, it may be ideal to also run the truck and that air conditioning system to help assist in your 12-volt air conditioner cooling things down. Your bunk ladder can be used in two positions. You can of course use it as it is stowed right now, or you can remove it from the upper hooks, set it on the lower hooks, and that makes getting in and out of bed a little bit easier. Up in the bunk area, a few things to point out to you. We do have a skylight just above me here. That can be operated by releasing two latches on either side and pushing the bar to open the skylight. It's also good to note there's a bunk screen as well as a privacy screen here as well. Just behind me, a couple reading lights, and on the back of those reading lights are USB ports, so you can plug your phone in and charge there if you'd like. And behind me here, storage cubby compartments. You can store all your gear in these two compartments. It's important to note though, we do want to replace those compartments as they are with the snaps before raising or lowering the top. Here in the cab of the truck, I want to point out a couple things to you. Your truck is equipped with off-road lighting. Those can be controlled via the upfitter switches just above your head here. On the dash, we have the engine brake feature. This is a great thing to use when you're driving. With the additional weight of the truck, using this feature is going to allow you to stop a little bit quicker, a little bit more efficiently. Any other questions about the truck operation, make sure you consult the owner's manual in the glove box. The storage boxes on the back of the truck are a great space to store firewood, dirty hiking shoes, etc. They can be opened by pushing this latch here. They are weatherproof as well, and they can be locked via the key on your key ring. Your shore power plug as well as your freshwater fill ports are located here on the driver's side. The outdoor shower is here underneath this compartment. To hook up the shower, you'll grab your shower apparatus. It has a couple little notches that will coincide with little notches on the device there. I'm going to plug it in, give it a turn to the right, and I have hot on the left and cold on the right, and you're good to go. The diesel and DEF fills are located just here. It's important to note this is indeed diesel, so we want to make sure we're only putting diesel into the truck. DEF is located here. That should be topped off when you pick up the truck, but in case you're on a very long journey, you'll want to keep an eye on the DEF. You can do that via the dashboard. There is a gauge on there, and if you need to top it off, you should be able to pick that up at any truck stop, Walmart, or auto parts store. To operate the awning, you'll want to locate the awning arm. This is typically located in the camper underneath the mattress. I'll simply take this guy, hook it into the eyelet here, and we'll start to crank it out. Now, before putting your awning out, it's extremely important to note, is there significant wind? We definitely shouldn't be putting this out if there's a fair amount of wind. Also, make sure you stow the awning before leaving the vehicle. To crank it out, we're simply just gonna crank it out. See? Once we get it to our desired position, we do need to deploy the legs. That can be done by grabbing each leg, pulling them out towards you, making sure the end piece comes all the way out, and we can rotate the leg. We'll simply loosen this knob, lower it to the height that we'd like, and then tighten the knob back. Of course, we'll do the same on the other leg. And again, it's very important to make sure we stake these legs down when we're using the awning. That wraps up this tutorial. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any additional questions, reach out to our service department at service@rossmonster.com.